Boom.
Uh, Yo, what's up, everybody? How you doing? It's your man Jay Kev here with Kevo here with Leif Taylor, having
Kivo.
our regular weekly conversation about all things health, wealth, relationships, and happiness, and everything else in between. Leif, wherever our conversation goes, we like to make sure that our conversations are free range and GMO free, making sure that they're healthy and happy for the peoples out there. It's a place where you can come in and just join in and just let your conversation flow without fear of judgment and without fear of being ridiculed and all the other stuff. So we like to try to create a safe space where you can just come in and just maybe grab some nuggets of some pearls of wisdom and positivity and some things going to help you along the way as you scroll through these internet streets. It's rough out there. It's late in these internet streets, man. It's rough out there. So we like to do our part in providing a place for you to come and maybe even get some rest and recovery after you've done the work in your life, Leif. That's what we're going to talk about today, Leif. We're going to talk about rest and recovery in today's world. In today's world, after you've done the work, after you put in some work, and after you've done some things, it's definitely essential. In my book, it's definitely a part of your journey in life to make sure that you throw in those times of R&R. All work and no play makes Kevo crazy. so it's not good. We got to make sure you get the R&R. And Leif, a couple of things kind of got me thinking about this and going in this direction. Is that number one? Before we got on, earlier you sent me a clip of our man David Goggins, just talking about recovery and rest. I'm sure in the fuller context of the conversation, it probably came off a little different, but maybe not, given it's coming from David Goggins. But he was just talking about how recovery and rest and stuff, that is not a part of his mindset and journey in his in the thing that he does. So, I was just commenting on how he would definitely be on top of me, like flies on stink, if I was a part of his boot camp. Because rest and recovery is definitely something that I think is definitely essential, especially in today's world. There seems to be so much going on, just looking at the news and stuff, that if you let life get you, life will keep you on the hamster wheel pretty hard.
Yep.
And life, with things that's going on. So it's definitely important that you work in some time where you can kind of take a pause, take a break, and recoup and recover mentally, emotionally, especially physically. And also, that helps you in your life as far as feeling like you're connected to something greater, which is, spiritually, feeling like you have something worthwhile to pursue and give yourself to that's bigger than you. So that's one thing. Just thinking about that clip, and it kind of got my my thoughts going. And I was thinking about how I was listening to somebody earlier, and they were talking about people in the healthcare field, people working in hospitals and in the medical field, especially at this moment, are losing empathy and are getting burnt out and losing the ability to connect and relate, and they're getting hardened, because of the way things are going. And it just brought back to my attention, the importance of rest and recovery, and having that time to where you can recoup and reset and get things back in line, and all other aspects that you can, because if you let it, you'll get burnt out and worn out, and it's something that's easy to do.
Yeah, and just to touch on that point, because from a hospital perspective, and actually from a lot of places, a lot of the reasons why that happens is because one, they don't provide them with the proper resources to begin with, right? And what
Yeah.
I mean by that is a lot of places they almost understaff them on purpose. Uh, and
And
go ahead.
yeah, that was something that was brought up in the conversation. You was talking about we were already on that razor's edge as far
Yeah,
as, like you said, staff and everything was like brought down to the level of minimal efficiency and skeleton, skeleton, what they call it, crew operation.
Yeah, and that's part of because I know like on Wednesdays I talk about business specifically.
Yep.
But anyway, just going into that thing, hospitals in a lot of ways have set themselves up to fail in time of crisis because they run thin on purpose, and even when you think about it in terms of quality care, it diminishes the care for a lot of the patients because of the thin hours that they run, and meaning the 12-hour shifts, and then they're overworked on top of that. I'm also on part of commission for hospitals, so I think about this stuff quite often. So yes, what do you say?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so that kind of stuff is not uncommon. And so if you do find yourself in that situation where where you're getting burnt out, we're talking about rest and recovery. I threw in after you worked, I threw in that part because sometimes it doesn't make any sense to rest when you don't have work behind it, right? And not only that, it just makes you value the rest that much more. I know
it makes you appreciate it.
Kevin and I were both Sabbath keepers, and until my intensity in work went up, I didn't quite enjoy the Sabbath as much as I did until after I worked like a dog. Go ahead.
Yeah. After commenting on that, after becoming an adult is when I really, I guess, appreciated and realized the value of intentional rest and taking breaks from the flow of regular, routine, and how important it is that it affects every area of your humanity. How it's very important that you really be intentional about that. And if you're not, then you could find yourself getting caught up in the flow, especially in our in our culture. It's very easy to get caught up in the flow as far as our hustle and work culture. And so I definitely realized the benefits and appreciated it versus when I was younger. It wasn't working at all.
You weren't doing that. You had no reason to value it. It's like when you give certain, like the reason why work is so important. It's just like when you give things away to people that didn't have to earn it. They don't value it as much.
Man,
and that's why, like, what's funny is I've talked with people that have had like programs for the communities and things like that, and whenever they offered it for free, nobody showed up. It's almost, it seems counterintuitive. It's like, you mean to tell me that if I give this information to you for free, that you wouldn't show up, but if I charge you for it, I would get tons of people to come in, right? So it's just crazy. But work is a valuable thing if utilized in the proper context, and that goes back to getting the rest and recovery once you put in the effort. For example, Kevin, he's training every once a week. He's training every week, getting his his tone and his physicality back and those kinds of things. However, he has to rest and recoup in order for those benefits to come. And a lot of times, a lot of people, they weigh in extremes on one side or the other. They either work too much or they rest too much, right? But there's a perfect balance in that, because after you put in the work, then you have to rest in order to get the results.
And that's where the results happen, is in that, that rest and recoup time. When you were talking, you made me think of conversations that I have periodically with my sons, revolving around the idea of working out and, wanting to get in shape and get physically fit for their athletic and sports endeavors. And, I understand it, because when I was younger, I didn't, what you mean I need to take a break and sleep?
You're so anxious to get the results.
Yeah, you think that continual working out and doing stuff is really is what does it. And it's like, no, that's breaking you down to set you up for your body to respond and say, dang, he's working me pretty hard. I need to rebuild back better, faster, and harder and stronger. But I have to have that time in order to do it.
Yep. And also it just made me think as you were talking the difference between power lifters versus bodybuilders. Their regimens are very different because oftentimes bodybuilders will look bigger in terms they'll look more muscular than the power lifters because of the way that they work out. There's a difference in, power lifters obviously going to be way stronger most of the time, but again, you just have to adjust your body according to the schedule or according to the results that you want. And relating that back to work, and we talk about work quite a bit because the majority of people that watch our show are adults and they work for a living. And so the reason why recovery is so needed, especially if you work in a high stress job, is that it can literally cause disease in your body. And so you want to make sure that you maintain your levels of stress by getting proper rest as well as proper nutrition. Because again, most people don't think that, me sitting at a desk, for my quote unquote 9 to 5, that can, cause me ill effects, but it really can, not just from the fact that you're sitting down so long, but the mental stress that you can take depending on the job and depending on how many hours you put in can literally cause cancers in your body.
It's like even worse.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Sitting down and just being in one spot, that's almost even worse as far as affecting how you think and affecting your mentality. So man, that can have an even greater effect than when you were talking. I was thinking about, somebody who works from home and they have that very, thing going on.
Yep.
Where it's like when you're working from home and you have all kinds of stuff coming at you, and you're just sitting in one spot, focus at the screen with calls and stuff. You have to allow yourself to get up and move around and take some breaks.
Yep.
So yeah, we you brought up work, and I was thinking about where I work at and stuff, and the time of the season that it is, and just thinking about how important it is to fit those times in schedule.
Yep.
Those times in. And also just thinking about, it's the end of the year. And I know for some people out there, it may have been a long year. And you may have been in a routine or something that hasn't allowed you to step away. But given that we're coming up on the holidays and it's like everybody is now focused on this moment of time to where you can now schedule in, you can now take advantage of the scheduled in breaks and really like do it with intention.
Yes.
Making sure that you're involving yourself and you're doing something that really helps you as far as rest and recovery and maybe even brings you pleasure. I was going over an article about, Dr. Carol Leaf. She wrote the book. What book? Oh, I forgot the book she wrote, but we talk about it often. And I was reading an article and she was talking about 2 ways to self-regulate and soothe your mind, brain, and body, and just how that contributes to your rest and recovery, and just looking at some things to do, some ways to recover and rest and take a break. And on her list, she talked about laughter. And we've talked about this in the past and how it's important that you get laughter into your life. Laughter is like one of the best ways as far as medicine and ways to help you with relief and letting go and just kind of giving your body a way to release and reset that's positive and that'll help you mentally, physically, emotionally, helps you in all the areas. When you get that good belly laugh in, man, it just changes everything. It changes perspective. It could change just how you feel and how you're thinking.
Yeah, and that's very key. It's one of the things that I've been trying to incorporate lately is schedule. It's like not only laughter. I mean, I laugh every day. I'm cracking jokes on somebody at least one point in the day or another. But just scheduling just rest time with family, right? See, picking with Leif makes me laugh. She didn't get it all out, but I know it's what she messes with me all the time because I'm so serious most of the time. But
so serious.
We say
like the Joker talking about Batman.
Yeah, I know. She said, "Picking with Leif. Sorry, it makes me belly laugh." Yeah, she likes to antagonize me. My wife antagonizes me all the time. But no, but seriously, I've been trying to like just make sure that I schedule breaks, schedule time with family, because I know for myself I can be a workaholic in terms of
Yeah.
not stopping, just going from the time that I wake up to the time that I go to sleep. And so I make it a point now, especially like when I think and contemplate on, we both because our children are around the same age. You got grown children, and it's like if I don't take time out to spend quality time with them, then it's gonna be gone. There will be no time to recoup that. And so I make it a point to just stop, and regardless of people sending me messages or not, just get away from my computer, just go sit down, have face to face, body contact kind of time with my kids, uh, and even my wife, just to make sure that I don't get so caught up in this that I'm missing the bigger picture. And
When
so, go ahead.
when you were talking, you were making me think of where I'm at with teenagers,
Yeah.
and it's like having a face-to-face conversation. It's like we don't want to do that. We don't want to talk to you. Kind of like when I was growing up. It's like I got to a certain point as a teenager. You're like, I don't want to sit down and talk and have conversation. So a lot of the answers is like, yes, you know.
Yeah.
Think,
Well,
think think of a room full of you know 2, 3 Kevins, and everybody hit the word wall.
yeah, your personality is definitely working against you. Because because my kids, like we talk all the time, and so they have no problem communicating. But I could definitely see the Kevins in the room just looking at each other.
But the youngest one though, he carries the conversation. So it's always good to make sure you have that one extrovert conversationalist in the group that helps get the conversation moving, get things flowing.
Right.
So
Because now that
our teams are
oh, I'm sorry, I thought I didn't
she
know.
trying to say our teams are totally opposite. Yeah. So
Yeah, I could definitely see your youngest being that one, because when I think about it, I've barely had any conversation. I've known your oldest longer than any of them, and he talks very rarely. But that's how it goes. But
having
anyway,
good conversation, that's definitely something that can be on your regimen as far as being intentional and as far as being a part of a rest and recovery routine and regimen.
yep.
Definitely got to have communication. That's key when it comes to people and connection and making sure that things is flowing and relating. So you got to have that communication when it comes to rest and recovery. That's part of the process. You can't keep things bottled up inside.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to something, and it was talking about how one of the biggest problems, that people have is not feeling like that they can express themselves openly and freely. And when you do find that, it's refreshing and it's something that is valuable and part of somebody or part of you maintaining and achieving some level of peace in your life, when you're able to just be you and let whatever it is in you out without fear of, like I was saying in the beginning, of judgment and fear of ridicule or fear of retaliation.
Yeah, and that's important. Going back to your early example about hospitals, and some of the staff being burnt out. A lot of times that could be part of that. The reason why the burnt out is happening is because they don't feel that they can express. It's like, hey, I need help. I need this kind of stuff, and especially if you're in a highly uh, competitive environment in terms of a job, like
Yeah.
it becomes very difficult. I know working in certain locations, not necessarily being an employee there, but working there. And then employees would talk to me like, "Hey, can you complain about this for me?" Because they feared for
Use
their
you as the front
job.
man.
What do you say?
Use you as the front man.
Yeah, because they feared the retaliation. And for me, like, I'm like, I own my thing. I'm just here because I'm contracted. So I'm contracted to be here. So I can say whatever I want, that kind of thing. So uh, there's a saying, everybody
There's
needs
a saying
someone.
everybody needs someone that they can be themselves with.
That's true. And sometimes you have to put that into the conversation, right? You have to put that into the mix. And I know for me, like, of course, being shy growing up, but over time, I just got to the point where I'm going to be me regardless of who's there, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes as an adult, you have to be willing to just be yourself regardless of if the environment feels right or not. And so don't bottle up everything. And I know it's different for different people. I understand different environments. I understand the dynamics that they can change in different locations. And safety, I always tell my wife, in certain areas, I'm like, hey, don't go, because it's different for a female in certain locations as opposed to a male. Because that, like somebody says, there's always a low level threat of violence when men
Yeah.
are around. And so I'm definitely mindful of that. But again, just going back to being yourself, uh, you got to find the courage to do so in some instances, because otherwise it'll
Thanks,
be the
one
way
second.
it is. Yeah, things
Yes.
will change. And so you have to understand that, of course, I would love for every place to be just, utopia, and everything just works right. So you don't have to, you can just be relaxed and chill. You don't have to be the iron fist, just to get your rights and all of that kind of stuff. But sometimes you have to do that in order to get the peace that you need. So you have to speak up. You have to, be yourself and those kinds of things. And then when all that stress is over, you find ways to rest and relax.
Yeah, it's refreshing to get it all out, and sometimes instead of keeping it all bottled up.
Yeah.
Um,
Go ahead. I know you're reading the Carolyn Leaf stuff.
well, I was gonna say, I was gonna go to something else as far as I was gonna ask the audience, what's one of your best ways in which you can rest and recover and get the reset and get the refreshing, that the rejuvenation that you need. So I'm just asking the audience, what's one of the ways that you can do that? And I was going to say that, one of the ways that I do it is, like you said, take intentional breaks and taking a trip, if you can, whether it's a staycation, whether you don't leave and you still take a break, or whether you actually go somewhere. So for me, one of the ways in which I can find rest, recovery, reset, rejuvenation, get all that stuff in, is by actually going somewhere and scheduling in some adventure. So yeah,
Yeah,
getting in
that's
nature.
something. Yeah, that's something that I need to do. I'm planning on doing the exact time in which I do it. I don't know quite yet. But yeah, I think just for myself and my family, just scheduling some time to get away. Even though we have like a non-traditional life, in terms of the way we live, even we still have to, find places to go and to get away, just to change up the scenery every now and
Henry, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You can just that's
experience
big.
life. Yeah, just experience life. It's easy to get caught up in the routine of things, in terms of schedule. There's a certain routine that every one of us has in life. It's like, okay, you get up, you do your regimen, you go to work, finish work, you come home, you do your regimen, you get ready for bed, blah blah blah. And those things can cycle very quickly if you don't put a break in that.
Yeah,
And so again, we're talking about scheduling breaks so that you can rest and recover, and not only that, but just find some peace, in a variety of ways throughout life. Make sure that you enjoy your life. Do the work necessary to get you to where you want to go, but make sure that you enjoy the life that you have. Sit back and look at the fruits of your labor sometimes and just enjoy it. Let's see, hold on.
Sean says that talking to my husband or my other BFF helps me relax. Traveling is huge for me. I grew up traveling often. Also, being around extended family revives me as well. Yeah, that last statement, being around family, even though I am an introvert, I understand the importance of just having other people around.
Yep.
So just even though I'm an introvert, I understand the importance of just having other bodies in the vicinity, and I can feel the difference when it's just me and when it's people around, even though I may not be interacting with them. And I can definitely feel the shared I guess energy or experience, the atmosphere of the proximity. So, and that is a part of what it means to be human and be social and having connections. And that's a part of being healthy and happy and having that peace. And that's definitely something that I feel that has been, I guess, for lack of a better word, attacked or that's been affected greatly, given the environment in the world that we live in now and how the atmosphere is. So just being in close proximity with other human beings is something that's definitely important. If everybody's able to maintain peace and be, civil and stuff like that. So yeah.
And being able to choose being in that environment is a difference too.
Oh yeah. If you're in prison, I don't think that's a good place to
be. You have no choice over that. But yeah, I definitely agree. Having, like you said, just other people around that shared energy, likewise with myself. Mainly when I'm around a bunch of people, I'm actually even more quiet, than anything. But sometimes that energy is needed. Even though it may not seem like I'm interacting or
we're enjoying it.
Yeah. But sometimes that stuff is needed just to acclimate to human activity and those kinds of things, which is very important. Which is another aspect of traveling that can help with that. We talk to our children all the time about different locations and just the different vibrancy that is around when you have like millions of people in the location, and I mean like a city or something like that.
Yep.
It just makes all the difference in the world, and it I don't know, I can't even describe it, but it just something about it that changes your body chemistry. And
you were talking, I was thinking of New York.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. Like when I would go to New York, like my adrenaline levels change.
Yeah, it's a city that's about hustle and it's about getting things done, productivity, grinding. So when you're in that environment, it's like you feel it. It's like high energy.
Oftentimes, when I was in New York, like even when we went down as a group, I would always just go off by myself. Because I'm just built like that. I don't know why, but it's like I would just go places by myself, and just the the hustle, the energy, in certain aspect of it, was definitely changed my adrenaline levels. I don't think I could. It's not a place for me 24/7. But I could do it in spurts, right? And so again, just understanding how you're built and how you're wired definitely helps. And also, again, I have such a background of being in Lexington and Kentucky, and a slower place. California wasn't bad. To me,
a different vibe because of the sun.
Yeah, it wasn't. It had its own energy. It didn't feel fast paced at all to me, but it has a different energy than it does being here, especially now that it's winter. I'm not a winter person, so in the winter, like I hate the winter. So it's not been super cold here, but again, me interacting and getting out amongst people usually happens in warmer climates.
Well, I was gonna say that the season often helps with setting up how you're to interact and how you're to act
Yeah.
in the environment. You know, when it gets cold, you don't want to move. You want to stay in one spot and stay warm and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's like winter is the time where you can hopefully squeeze in and find that rest and that recovery, that hibernation period. So that's what, to me, that's what winter signals to us.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to kind of get in line with,
especially if you're a personal trainer, because business picks up every spring. If you're a personal trainer, spring is when you get the most business most of the time.
I think opposite though. It's like winter is like the time where you want to go in, just start getting stuff in order, start getting your summer body, as they say.
Nah, it's not how most people.
I know yeah.
Trust me, when I was personal training, it was spring. The gym was crowded. After the month after spring, it was back to normal.
You can take up all the machines. Like, I'm on this machine. I'm on this machine.
Exactly.
I got all the weights out. Shauna says, as a family, we watch TV shows together from Marvel to tours of large homes. For some reason that revives our fam as a whole. I don't know why. It may be the way we reconnect since we can't get out as much due to the pandemic. Yeah. TV watching is old school. Or I can remember growing up as a family watching the Cosbys and watching the Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
So I guess for me or in our generation, it's nostalgic. But I try to do the same thing as far as my family, and we used to have those moments watching The Flash or whatever, get into the whatever show that is on. But TV viewing and TV watching is something that's small, I guess, in some respects, but it's definitely can be a moment where you can find pleasure, and in that pleasure you can find rest and recovery.
Yeah, and bonding time as well, because that's part of it. Again, from a family perspective, getting that rest and relaxation as a whole, and again, for me as a parent with children that are getting older every single day, I definitely pay more attention to it. When they were young, I was young as well, so so I was doing more things, and it's like, okay, I need to slow down and just make sure that I don't miss any of these stages that they're going through, because they go extremely fast, especially when you think about teenage years. Those are probably the shortest years of their life, because it's like, it's like from 13 to 19 and it's over.
But when you're in it, it feels like slow motion. It feels forever, but the older you get, you realize, dang, it was like a flash in the pan. That was super
the quickest part of your life. It's like, at least from like being a little kid, it goes up until like 7th or 8th grade, or well, now probably even younger, the way the school systems are now, the way the kids are. But still, those things go by super quick. And so you want to make sure that you cherish it, that you take advantage of it, in terms of embedding, principles, morals, all those kinds of things, because that goes and it's over. And so when you do relax, when you do things, make sure that you incorporate your family as part of. Sometimes maybe your break is away from your family, depending on what your structure is like. But make sure that you incorporate that so that time with you is associated with good things, right? And you don't want to make all your time associated with your children or whoever you're in relationships. You don't want that to be stressful. You want those to be the best times in life. Go ahead.
So when after you're dead and gone and your kids look at your pictures, you want them to be like, you want them to either be okay, neutral to good, versus good riddance.
I hate it when he was around. Yeah, it's like so you want to make sure that it's peaceful and those kinds of things.
I can deal with if they see me and I'm dead and gonna, like, he's all right, I can do with that. He's okay.
All right, okay is good enough.
Yeah, I'll take good enough. I'll take it.
Yeah.
When I was talking, I was thinking about a clip that I seen before we got on of somebody, they didn't show who it was, had you know those motion pictures where it's a picture but they add motion to it.
Yeah.
Somebody had took their their grandparents took a picture and added motion to it and then showed it to, their parents.
Yeah.
And the connection was there to where the reaction brought tears of joy and,
Yep.
brought, reverence versus hopefully it's not like,
Yeah, I know. You don't want trauma to be brought back up.
Yeah. That's the goal.
Sorry about that. I'm always fiddling with something.
So some other ways to add rest and recovery. Don't have to be anything major. Simple. Getting sleep, getting rest. Some making sure you're eating good food. That's always a good part of rest and relaxation. Let's see.
Yeah, one thing I want on there.
Music.
Yeah, is we talked about planning to get rest, but even planning your work can help you with your rest. And what I mean by that is, instead of winging everything, and not having a real game plan about your life, having a scheduled game plan for your life can allow for you to have more quality rest, because you don't want to just, it's one thing to stop working, and it's another thing to stop thinking about the work that you have to do.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be like not physically working, but all you're thinking about is the deadlines you're about to miss because you didn't plan properly. And so you want to make sure that's a part of your lifestyle as well, is making sure that the work is really scheduled and planned accordingly, so that when you do rest, it's a complete rest. It's not something that you're still stressing over. It's not something that you're still, because it's the difference of, okay, I know that in 2 weeks from now, I need to go on vacation. So allow me to line up the things to get in place. So if I'm not going to be here, I got my man Kevin to back me up. He knows ahead of time. I don't have to like hurry up and panic and try to get somebody to fill a role so I can leave. And then I'm leaving in a panic. And then I'm just flustered because now I got to, fill this person in while I'm on break, and all of those different things. Just take your time, plan ahead, and then stick to a schedule, and that will allow you to have better rest and recovery in a stress-free way.
Yeah, being intentional. That's something that I didn't realize until I got older. Like you said, as far as scheduling and stuff, and somebody taught me the value of keeping a calendar, even though today at this very moment, I'm not very on top of it. But looking back, I understand the importance of keeping a calendar, and even up, to the point of blocking out times and putting in what you're doing at that specific block. And it was always amazing to see, how much you can accomplish, to see your life, your hours.
Yep.
You could see where your time is going and what you're doing. It definitely helps, like as far as organization, and like you said, not feeling like things are out of control. You don't know what's going on.
Yep.
Kind of like how I used to do with my bank account. It's like, I don't know what's going on. Let's just keep swiping.
You're like, I won't see them numbers. Yeah,
you don't need to see the numbers.
What's funny is, like, for myself, when I started like compartmentalizing my time more, I found that whenever I accomplished something, I was more apt to take a break, because I didn't feel pressured or rushed, or I didn't feel like I was behind. And so just like even scheduling, like keeping your to-do list or your goals very small, even though you may have a long to-do list, keeping them small and bite size, then it's like, okay, after I finish this, I can rest, I can go take a quick little break, and I can, enjoy my family, enjoy, whatever, a snack, just whatever. And then when I get back to work, I feel refreshed and rejuvenated to do more work. And then when I accomplish that, then I can take a, so just those little things can help your perspective in terms of the way you feel about breaks and the way you feel about your approach to work.
Yep. So just reiterating some of the importance and some of the benefits of rest and recovery is that pretty much it can help you maintain a, a high level of health and peace and happiness in your life. And when you do get off track, it can help modulate
Yep.
you back to that center point real quickly. So, that's why it's essential to make sure that you're doing things that helps us, gives us space to recover from the woes and the challenges, the wailing that life kind of throws at us, from time to time. So if you don't, you'll find yourself worn out, burnt out, just down and out, frustrated, angry, stressed out. So, I see it.
Constantly
I
playing
see it
catch up.
often.
Yeah.
Huh?
So you feel like
Yeah.
you're constantly playing catch up.
Yeah, and I see it where it can push people. It can push you to a point of where you have a meltdown. I've seen that from time to time. So that's just watching and seeing these things kind of pressed upon me, the importance of making sure that that you self-assess and realize what your makeup is and what you're cut out for, and so some people can run at high stress for a long time, and I don't know. I guess it doesn't get to them.
Yeah, but even the highest performing engine has to take a rest, or it's gonna break down.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you can't keep your foot on the pedal for forever.
Yeah, and again, so just know that there's seasons for everything. A time for all in work, and there's a time for rest as well. Make sure that you figure out what those seasons and what those balances look like for you. Everything is not going to be perfect always, but make sure that you can schedule what you can schedule and take the breaks where you can take the breaks, even if it's daily. Rest and recuperation, like we talk about morning meditations, morning, just to set aside. Just make sure you get it in somewhere, because everything is not going to look like the neat picture perfect package. We talk about it's like, oh, it'll be so wonderful. I'll be able to take some time here when things go right. That doesn't exist. You have to force those things in there, and you have to be just as resolute about taking a break as you are about working toward a goal. And
life is messy, man.
Yeah, it really is. And so you have to put your foot down when you need to put your foot down to do certain things. So make sure that you recognize when you need that break before you break down. That's preferably when you do it. After the breakdown is kind of the worst time, but you want to do it before that happens. Make sure that you know what it takes to get you to the next level, to get you on a continuous path, and also understand what the breaking points are for your family and those around you, because that's huge as well. So definitely just take assessment, get in a community of people that can point things out to you, because sometimes you can't see it, you're too close. I know my wife, for me, she's like, hey, you need to chill, you need to take a break.
Take a break.
Yeah, you've been going too long, and so yeah, definitely, because I know I was working so hard at one point over the past few months. I just like, man, I just need to stop. Like, I just need to stop. And I was thinking it was going to be like this big break that I take, but definitely it's just the smaller breaks help me get to a point where it's like, okay, I got everything settled and I can relax. Yeah, exactly.
Sean says sickness is your body's way of forcing you to rest. Yeah. And when thinking about that statement, I was thinking about my friend who owns a farm, and he's dealing with a situation now that has caused him to take a break from the farm and that regimen, being so regimented about his regimen.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, this is the greatest thing's ever happened to me.
He's like, I got freedom.
Yeah. He's like, it's what she said is like the sickness forced him to rest and take a break, and he realized, he's like, wow, this is great. Life is good.
He was like, he hears the birds chirping and
it's crazy how how that does, how that works.
That's real. Because I find myself no longer passing out. I actually go to bed now.
Man.
So yeah,
Feel,
you don't want to get to that point where you're just finding yourself waking up in random places because you stopped working.
but
Just
that's
make
celebrated in today's culture. Well,
yeah,
it seems to be changing and
I
waning
think so.
as far as
Yeah.
the celebration of that.
Yeah, I think it's changing. Just the break from COVID. I call it the blip. The blip of
Yeah,
was it 2020?
that's exactly what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the blip of 2020 changed a lot of people's perspectives on things because again, it was a halt in most people's normal everyday routine, and
Mhm.
then it forced many to think that hey, I was so dogmatic about doing this way, and I couldn't do it anymore, and then it changed my mind to a whole lot of things that I didn't really pay attention to, and so I
Yeah.
think that opened a lot of people's eyes. I know it I don't think it changed me so much because it was kind of my schedule already, but that still it just made me, over the past year or so, just contemplate, okay, what am I doing that I don't need to be doing, and how can I do it more effectively, more efficiently, to where I'm not overstressing myself, I'm not overstressing my family, and I'm not overstressing the people that I work with, right? And so that changed my approach over the year, was evolving, so to speak, to where I became, I still work nonstop, but I don't do it at a frantic pace to where I feel like I gotta run 1,000 miles an hour to get stuff done. So I think that's the difference. I try to keep myself low stress in most cases. I know my wife is like, yeah, you get stressed a lot in certain things. And so I'm trying to even perfect that because, like you said, being so regimented with my regimen and
Yeah.
just relaxing to where it's like, okay, I thought that it had certain things had to be done within this time frame, and then you realize nobody died, right? I'm not in a life or death situation. I'm not in medicine, so if I was, then maybe that is the case. But for me, it's not. So I don't have to be so dogmatic about times and schedules and things like that in terms of my own routine, not from a client's perspective, but from my own routine and the things that I want to get done.
But then you do, you know,
Yeah,
that,
sometimes you do.
yeah,
Yeah,
you do. Like you have to have that
yeah,
healthy balance. And like when we were talking about how things seems to be shifting to more of the self care, it's like, okay, don't go too far over that way, or
yeah.
you be self caring yourself to death, or. So okay, self care and rest and recovery is good, but dang, bruh,
Yeah, yeah,
you getting over into the hedonistic
yeah,
uh,
exactly.
area. Let's scoot it back over here.
Yeah,
So, as we ought to talk about, the phrase is it depends.
yeah.
So you got
It
to
all
leave room
depends.
for healthy conversation for both sides.
Yeah.
Don't get too stuck in one routine or
Oh
one
yeah.
way of thinking.
Just be pliable. Life is very, very pliable. Be pliable where you need to be pliable, and rigid where you need to be rigid.
Life is
Uh,
gonna make you pliable. It's gonna make you
oh
like
yeah.
Play-Doh.
Nah, it'll break you. Yeah, you can be broken. You can be broken.
Yeah. Oh, you tough, huh? Okay, kid. Kev sounded good on the live stream. Let's break him down here.
Exactly. Now breaking can happen, so definitely just be careful.
Trying to says I watched my grandmother who worked hard but play hard as well. Yeah, balance is key.
Yeah, every time I hear that, it makes me think of Robert Smith. They was like, "What about work-life balance?" He said, "Work is life." He said, "That is balance." So again, just there's always going to be seasons of everything, and so just make sure that you understand which season you're in, and know that there's that it doesn't last always, in either case. And so the one thing about living is that all states are temporary.
Change will come.
Yeah. So definitely keep that in mind. Enjoy the upcoming breaks for many people, this holiday season, so to speak. So take advantage of it where you can, and just plan ahead for the phases after, and so on and so forth. Okay.
Yes.
Uh,
Yep. Question for you guys. Okay, shoot.
Yeah, hurry up, please.
Questions. Got a little Q&A going on.
Yeah, what's the question that you may have?
Question.
Let's see if it's being typed. Yeah, buzzed on something else. Yeah, again, the topic we're talking about ways to rest and recover.
Should everything you do in life be pleasurable, like work?
No.
Yeah.
Etc. The answer is no, because sometimes the things that are good for you don't feel good until they become part of you, and so it's not going to be pleasurable until you extract what it is you need to extract from it. And what I mean by that is I think about when I was growing up. My grandfather, he had a construction company, so I would work construction with him, and it sucked. I hated it, but I enjoyed it after the fact, right? And I enjoyed the aspect, as time went on, of the work ethic that it provided. And not only that, it let me know of the things that I did not want to do for the rest of my life. And so lessons learned, like I think about our children, we have to teach them. We have to, they got to learn, they got to read, they got to do the things that are hard. And when stuff is hard, it's not pleasurable at all. At all. Yeah. If you like working out, is that one exercise that you haven't perfected yet that don't feel pleasurable at all. And so no, everything in life doesn't have to
should not.
What do you say?
It will she said should. No, it shouldn't be. That's hedonism, engaging in the pursuit of pleasure. Yeah. Self-indulgent, sensually self-indulgent, pleasure seeking. I think that's probably one of a symptom of today's culture, I guess, in that the pleasure seeking has gotten out of hand. And when I'm talking, I'm thinking about being addicted to the dopamine hits as far as scrolling and social media, and how social media has scientifically hijacked our pleasure seeking system. So we are, we're addicted to pleasure, and continuous scrolling is a life of pleasure that is leading to a life of emptiness in many ways. So
last question: should your job be so miserable that it makes you sick?
Heck no. That's a big old no.
How would you know the balance in regards to work? So the way that I would approach this is just it depends. Again, I'm always a depends person, right? It just depends. What about the job is? I'm sorry, that's me doing stuff.
That's cool.
What is it about the job that is making you sick? Is what you first need to identify, right? Is it is it the work itself? Is it the people that you work for? Is it the way you're being treated? If it's things that that are outside, if people aside, which is very hard to do when it comes to work, but people aside, is it something that you see yourself pursuing for a lifetime? And if that question is no, then maybe you need to reconsider why it is that you're working there and what other options do you have, right? If it's something in terms of the work is something you want to do, and because again, I think about physical labor. I understand what you're saying by sick and illness. I understand exactly what you're saying. Sometimes it's the environment, it's the job itself, and sometimes it may be you. Maybe you aren't in the right mindset to take on that work. So no, your job shouldn't make you sick, but you have.
But if it does make you sick, then you are out of balance.
Yeah, you need to figure.
Something needs to be adjusted. Yeah. So the illness or the sickness is a symptom is a a manifestation of, hey, this ain't in balance. This ain't right.
Yeah.
Something needs to be adjusted or fixed in order to bring me out of illness or the feeling of sickness.
In agreement, and you need to identify whether that's the job or whether that's you.
Man, that's I think that's a good question. That's something good to talk about because I've run into people, I've known people that like their work, even me in the times past. I've had jobs where literally going into the building or driving to work really made me physically sick to my stomach. I've had that feelings in
the
job.
anxiety.
Yeah, the anxiety. It's like, man, this is serious. This is real. I didn't know this was a possibility, but those were symptoms that were letting me know that, hey, you need to adjust something. You need to make change. You need to do something because you cannot go longer, feeling this way.
Yeah, and again, like I said, you need to identify what it is. Like Kevin was saying, that is off balance. Is it you, or is it the environment?
The environment. And I'm thinking about this particular circumstance. It was the environment. Yep. So I just left. That's I'm out.
And you're probably better for it because a lot of people will stay in situations that are literally killing them. And you don't want to find yourself in that kind of predicament. We've been talking about, getting therapy or community. Community is good because sometimes you don't need a therapist for everything.
Right.
Things are just like, hey,
I need a therapist to say, hey, you need to go.
Please. Like, that you'll find other opportunities there. This won't be the end of the world if you don't have this particular job. And so this goes back into planning, like we talked about. Planning, your finances, make sure that you have money set aside to where if something is not working out at any given location. And for some people, I know it's hard to do, but just because it's hard doesn't mean that it shouldn't be done. Setting aside money, and so that way, if you do come into a predicament where your work is literally making you sick and it's the environment, it's the job, it's everything about the place that you're going to that is causing your illness, then you need to leave or walk away or get medical compensation, do something, but don't stay there. So
and it doesn't always have to be money. At that at that particular time, it brought to the forefront the importance of cultivating and having what Cal Newport talked about as far as social capital.
Yeah.
And having those relationships to where if you build up so much
equity
value in your connections and stuff that if you have to fall back or if you have to extract something from a relationship when needed, then that's just as good or even better than money. So I realized the importance of having social capital and even having building up and having favor, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's that community part, right? And make sure you do your part in that community. We talk about networking. Networking is only as good as the nodes in the network. And so make sure that you're a solid node in terms of a connection to where people can lean on you and you can lean on them. Like seriously, because as Kevin said, like I know I personally have used my network, but hey, I need help. Like I'll just ask. Swallow my pride, like, hey, I need help in this given situation. And you realize that again, if it's a good connection, then they're more than happy to help. And that's the irony of it sometimes is that, you build it up in your head to be such a drastic thing. It's like, oh man, I'll be more than glad to help you out.
And that goes back to, like you said, pride, ego, humble. Yeah. As I'm talking, what I'm thinking about that, it's like if I had let pride get in the way, then I wouldn't have asked for help, and I might have been in a much dire situation versus just swallowing it and saying, hat in hand. I need your help.
Yeah, so it's not as bad as we make it out to be. I don't know how that stuff gets built up in our head. Maybe it's past experiences or something, but yeah, make sure that you take advantage of that. Good question, Shauna. In terms of what we should do and how we should look at balance. And again, this is going to vary from person to person. Kevin mentioned Dave Goggins. Everybody can't be him, and everybody can't be Kev, right?
Yeah, I just look at, there are different varieties of people. You got just like I'm just thinking about, plants, and I work on a farm, so I'm always looking at, making the connection between okay, Kev might be a yam over here, and then Leif might be a whatever over there. Two different, completely different things. Yams.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. It just happened, man. It just came out.
But yeah, everybody's different. So again, you're watching this, you're probably an adult. You should know these things for yourself, for your family, for your makeup, and just figure it out. Like, what works for me may not work for you, vice versa. But again, you should definitely not be feeling ill because of your work environment, because of your workplace. And if that is the case, talk to your human resources. Not balanced. Yeah, talk to human resources if you got them. Tell them that you need help, something's wrong. Hopefully you got friends and family you can talk to. Maybe they can tell you, point out some of the things that you have that's going on. It could be you, like I said. It could be your the way you're thinking about things, or it could just be the environment itself. So just identify that, correct it, get it better, and just do what you need to do to make your life the quality it needs to be.
Yep. Now's the time to do it, given the space that we're in. Yep. So in closing, I guess, we'll go ahead and close out.
Yep.
We definitely appreciate everybody that joined in. Definitely appreciate you, Shauna, contributing to the conversation. We don't take that for granted. And so hopefully the return on your value is worth the investment. Just talking about R&R, rest and recovery, and how essential and how important it is. That especially the time of the year that we're in right now, this is probably going to be at the forefront of a lot of people's minds. Holidays and stuff is coming up, so being intentional about getting the rest, recovery, the reset that you need in order to prepare for the next year coming, so that you can get started running into 2022 and go do the things that you want to do or need to do in order to live your best life. So R&R is definitely an essential part of that. Peace.
Man, wrap it up.
Two Shot Guys in the mic. Kevo, Leif Taylor here, just having a conversation. So thank you. Hit comment or hit like, leave a comment, hit share, do all those things that they say you need to do in order to help algorithms out. So,
all right, everybody. Take care. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.